The coffee cup trembled in my hands as I stared at the two pink lines. 18 years old, high school senior, and pregnant. My bathroom felt smaller than ever, the walls closing in as reality crashed over me like a tidal wave. I'd taken 3 tests, all positive. The father, a man I'd met exactly once during the most reckless night of my life. His name was Alexander Pierce, 28 years old, CEO of Pierce Industries. And he had no idea I existed anymore. That night replayed in my mind like a movie I couldn't stop. 6 months ago, I'd been working my shift at the Grandview Hotel, a luxury establishment in downtown Manhattan where I served champagne to people who spent more on a single night than my mom made in 3 months. I was saving for college, working doubles on weekends, invisible in my black vest and bow tie. He'd noticed me anyway. "Excuse me." His voice had been smooth, cultured, with an edge that made my spine straighten. "Could I trouble you for another glass of the Moet?" I'd turned, and my breath caught. Tall, at least 6'3", with dark hair swept back from a face that belonged on magazine covers. His suit probably cost more than my car. His eyes, gray, intense, locked onto mine with an interest that made my cheeks burn. "Of course, sir, right away." "Alexander," he'd corrected, his lips curving into a smile that weakened my knees. "Sir makes me feel ancient." I'd laughed nervously, hurrying to the bar, but he'd kept watching me. Every time I glanced his way, those gray eyes were on me. When my shift ended at midnight, he was waiting by the employee entrance. "I know this is forward," he'd said, hands in his pockets, looking almost boyish despite the expensive suit. "But I haven't been able to stop thinking about you all night. Would you have a drink with me? Just coffee if you prefer. I promise I'm not a serial killer." I should have said no. Should have remembered I was 18, working class, with a 6 a.m. SAT prep class the next morning. Should have recognized the universe's bright red warning signs. Instead, I'd said yes. We'd walked to an all-night diner. He'd ordered coffee and pie, asking about my dreams, my plans, actually listening when I talked about studying architecture, designing buildings that made cities beautiful. He'd told me about inheriting his father's company at 25, the pressure, the loneliness at the top. "Everyone wants something from you when you have money," he'd said quietly, stirring his coffee. "You're the first person in months who's looked at me like I'm just a person." One coffee became two. Two became a walk through Central Park as dawn broke. The walk became a kiss under a street lamp, his hands gentle on my face like I was something precious. The kiss became him asking if I wanted to see his apartment, his voice rough, his eyes dark with want. I'd nodded. I'd never done anything like that before. Never had a one-night stand, barely had a boyfriend. But something about Alexander made me feel alive, seen, like the world had suddenly gone from black and white to technicolor. His apartment had been breathtaking, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city, modern furniture, artwork I recognized from my art history textbook. But I'd barely noticed, too focused on the way he kissed me, desperate and tender all at once, the way he whispered my name, Emma, like a prayer. "Are you sure?" he'd asked, his forehead against mine, breathing hard. "Yes," I'd whispered back. That night had been magic. He'd been gentle, patient, making sure I was okay, making sure it was perfect. Afterward, we'd lain tangled together, his fingers tracing patterns on my shoulder as the city lights sparkled below. "I want to see you again," he'd murmured into my hair. "I'd like that." But when I woke up, he was gone. No note, no number, nothing. Just a stack of $100 bills on the nightstand, 5 of them, and my clothes neatly folded on a chair. The money had felt like a slap, like payment. I'd left it there and walked out, humiliated, angry at myself for believing the fairy tale. Now, 6 months later, I was staring at a positive pregnancy test and wondering how to find a man who'd made it clear he didn't want to be found. I couldn't tell my mom. She was barely holding things together after Dad left, working 2 jobs to keep our tiny apartment in Queens. This would break her. I couldn't tell my best friend Maya either. She'd insist I track Alexander down, demand child support, make a scene. But what could I say? "Hi, remember that 18-year-old waitress you slept with once and then paid off? Surprise, you're going to be a father." No, I'd handle this myself. I'd defer college for a year, work, save money, have the baby, figure it out. Women did it every day, I could too. The next 3 months were hell. Morning sickness wasn't just morning, it was all day, every day. I lost 10 pounds before I started gaining. I hid it from my mom by wearing baggy sweatshirts, claiming I was stressed about college applications. At work, I requested reassignment to the coat check so I wouldn't have to carry heavy trays or smell food. I was 4 months along, just starting to show, when everything changed. The hotel was hosting a massive corporate event, some tech merger, 500 guests, every ballroom booked. I was stationed at the coat check, grateful for the quiet, when I heard a voice that made my blood freeze. "Thank you, the event's in the grand ballroom." "Yes, sir, third floor." I looked up slowly, my heart hammering. Alexander Pierce stood 15 feet away, handing his coat to my coworker. He looked exactly the same, devastatingly handsome in a charcoal suit, those gray eyes I saw every time I closed mine. He was laughing at something someone said, completely at ease, the center of attention. I ducked behind a coat rack, pulse racing. He hadn't seen me, I was sure of it. "Emma," my supervisor's voice made me jump. "We need someone to work the executive VIP section upstairs. Janine called in sick, time and a half." "I can't. It's not a request, we're short-staffed." 20 minutes later, I was in the grand ballroom's VIP section, a small private area cordoned off for the event's most important guests, wearing my uniform that was getting uncomfortably tight around the middle. I'd pinned my name tag inside my vest, worn my hair down instead of up, and prayed. The first hour was fine. I served drinks, cleared plates, stayed invisible. Then Alexander walked into the VIP section. He was with a group of executives, all laughing, shaking hands, the picture of success. I turned my back, pretending to arrange glasses, but my hands were shaking. "Excuse me, miss," his voice, right behind me. I had no choice. I turned slowly, keeping my head down, my hair falling forward to hide my face. "Could I get a scotch, neat?" "Of course, sir." I didn't look up, didn't breathe, just nodded and fled to the bar. My hands trembled as I poured the scotch. I could do this. Serve him, disappear, survive the next 3 hours, never see him again. I brought the drink back, still not looking up. "Here you are, sir." "Thank you." He paused. His hand brushed mine as he took the glass, and I felt electricity shoot up my arm. "Do I know you?" "No, sir." My voice was barely a whisper. "Look at me." It wasn't a request. There was something in his tone, recognition, confusion. My heart sank. Slowly, I raised my eyes. His face went white. The glass almost slipped from his hand. "Emma," the way he said my name, shocked, disbelieving, made tears burn behind my eyes. "Hi." It was all I could manage. His eyes swept over me, taking in the uniform, my face, and then his gaze dropped to my stomach, where my vest couldn't quite hide the small but definite bump. I watched his face change. Confusion, realization, horror. "Emma," he said again, his voice strangled. "Are you? I need to get back to work." I turned away, panicking. His hand caught my wrist, gentle but firm. "Wait, please." "Mr. Pierce, I really need to. Is it mine?" The words hung in the air between us. Around us, people laughed and talked, oblivious to the fact that my entire world was imploding. I yanked my wrist free. "I don't know what you're talking about." "Don't." His voice was low, urgent. "Don't lie to me." "Is that baby mine?" Tears spilled over before I could stop them. "Does it matter? Does it?" He looked genuinely stunned. "Of course it matters. Emma, why didn't you tell me?" "Tell you what? I didn't have your number. I didn't have anything except $500 you left on the nightstand like I was a prostitute." He flinched. "That's not, I didn't mean it like that. I had an emergency. I had to fly to Singapore. I left money because I thought you might need it, not because—" "Emma," my supervisor's sharp voice cut through, "stop socializing and get back to work." "Wait," Alexander said. "I need to," but I was already walking away, tears streaming down my face. My hands pressed to my stomach where his baby was growing, where everything had just gotten so much more complicated. I made it through the next 2 hours on autopilot. Alexander tried to catch my eye several times, but I avoided him, stayed busy, counted down the minutes until I could escape. Finally, my shift ended. I grabbed my coat and practically ran for the employee exit. He was waiting there. "We need to talk." "There's nothing to talk about." "Emma." He stepped in front of me, blocking the door. Up close, I could see the tension in his jaw, the shadows under his eyes. "Please, 5 minutes." "I can't, my mom's expecting me." "Then tomorrow, lunch anywhere you want." "Why?" The word came out harsh, angry. "Why now? You didn't want to see me again 6 months ago." "I did." His voice was fierce. "I tried to find you. I came back to the hotel the next week, but you'd switched shifts. They wouldn't give me your information. I thought maybe you didn't want to be found, that you regretted it." I stared at him. "You came back 3 times. I must have asked a dozen staff members about the beautiful girl who worked the banquet shift. No one knew who I meant, or they wouldn't tell me." He ran a hand through his hair, frustrated. "I finally gave up. Told myself it was for the best, that you were young, that I'd just complicate your life." Something in my chest cracked. "I thought you paid me and left." "I would never." He looked genuinely hurt. "Emma, that night meant something to me. You meant something, and now—" His eyes dropped to my stomach again. "Now you're carrying my child, and I've missed months of your pregnancy because I'm an idiot who didn't try hard enough." A sob escaped before I could stop it. The stress, the fear, the loneliness of the past 3 months crashed over me all at once. Hey, hey! Suddenly his arms were around me, pulling me against his chest. He smelled like expensive cologne and something uniquely him, and my body remembered, melting into his embrace even as my brain screamed warnings. It's okay, we'll figure this out. I'm so scared, I whispered into his shirt. I know, but you're not alone anymore. He pulled back, his hands gentle on my shoulders. Tomorrow, lunch, we'll talk properly. Please, Emma, I nodded, too exhausted to argue. He smiled, relieved, and pulled out his phone. Give me your number so I can't lose you again. This time when we exchanged numbers, it felt real, permanent. The next day, I met him at a quiet Italian restaurant in Midtown. I'd changed clothes 3 times, finally settling on the only dress that still fit, a blue cotton sundress that made me look even younger than I was. Alexander was already there, standing when I approached, pulling out my chair. He ditched the suit for dark jeans and a gray sweater that made his eyes look like storm clouds. You look beautiful, he said softly. I look like a pregnant teenager. You look beautiful, he repeated firmly. How are you feeling, morning sickness? I was startled by the question. It's getting better. Still happens, but not as bad as the first month. Have you been to a doctor, had an ultrasound? Yes, I went to a clinic, everything's fine so far. He nodded, and I saw guilt flash across his face. I should have been there. You didn't know, I know, but I should have tried harder to find you. He reached across the table, his hand palm up, inviting. After a moment, I placed mine in it. His fingers curled around mine, warm and solid. Tell me everything. When did you find out? How far along are you? What can I do? Over pasta I barely tasted, I told him. The positive test, the fear, the hiding. My plans to defer college, to handle it alone. His face got darker with every word. Alone, he finally said, his voice tight. Emma, you're 18. You should be planning prom and graduation, not figuring out how to raise a baby by yourself. I'm not a child. I know. But you shouldn't have to do this alone, and you're not going to. What does that mean? He took a deep breath. It means I'm going to be involved. Doctor's appointments, baby preparations, everything. It means I'm going to make sure you and our child have everything you need. I don't want your money. It's not about money, it's about responsibility. This is my child too. His grip on my hand tightened. Let me be there, Emma. Let me do this right. I wanted to argue, wanted to say I didn't need him, that I'd figured out how to survive without him before. But the truth was I was terrified. And the idea of not being alone anymore was so tempting it hurt. Okay, I whispered. His smile was like sunrise. Okay, that's how it started. Alexander Pierce, billionaire CEO, stepping into my messy, complicated life. At first, it was awkward. He'd text every morning, how are you feeling? And every night, did you eat enough today? He'd send car services to pick me up for doctor's appointments, meeting me there in the waiting room, holding my hand during ultrasounds. The first time we heard the heartbeat together, he cried. Sorry, he said, wiping his eyes, laughing. I didn't expect to, that's our baby. Yeah, I managed, my own eyes wet. That's our baby. He bought every pregnancy book available, reading them obsessively, showing up with weird cravings I'd mentioned once in passing. Pickles and ice cream, Thai food at 2 a.m., gummy bears and cheese. You're going to make yourself sick. I told him the night he brought over 6 different types of Chinese food because I couldn't decide what I wanted. Worth it, he said, watching me devour spring rolls with a smile that made my heart flip. My mom found out at 5 months. I'd been so careful, but she'd walked into my room while I was changing, and there was no hiding the bump anymore. Emma. Her voice was small, broken. Tell me that's not what I think it is. I started crying immediately. I'm so sorry, Mom. She didn't yell, didn't rage. She just sat on my bed and cried with me, holding me like I was still her little girl. Who's the father? She finally asked. That boy from school, Miguel. No, it's complicated. Complicated how? So I told her. The night at the hotel, Alexander, everything. I expected judgment. Instead, she just sighed. Does he know? Yes, he's been helping. Helping how? Doctor's appointments. He wants to be involved. My mom looked at me for a long moment. Do you trust him? I think so. Then I want to meet him. I almost laughed at the image of my mom, a tiny Puerto Rican woman who cleaned houses for a living, meeting Alexander Pierce in his glass tower. But Alexander didn't hesitate when I told him. I'd love to meet your mother. What does she like? Flowers, wine? I want to make a good impression. Just be yourself. But maybe less billionaire-why. He'd showed up at our tiny queen's apartment in jeans and a simple shirt, holding a bouquet of sunflowers and a box from the fancy bakery downtown. He'd looked around our cramped living room, the second-hand furniture, the water stain on the ceiling, the cramped kitchen where the refrigerator hummed too loud, without judgment. Mrs. Rodriguez, he'd said, shaking my mom's hand. Thank you for having me, your home is lovely. My mom had studied him with the intense gaze that made me squirm. Sit. For the next hour she'd interrogated him, his intentions, his family, his plans. How he was going to support this baby without making Emma dependent on him. What happened if they didn't work out as a couple? We're not a couple, I'd interjected. Both of them ignored me. Alexander had handled it perfectly. Respectful but firm. Yes, he wanted to be in the baby's life. Yes, he would provide financial support. Yes, he understood Emma was young and had her whole life ahead of her. No, he wasn't trying to control anything. He just wanted to do right by his child. At the end, my mom had nodded slowly. Okay, but if you hurt my daughter or my grandchild, I will find you, money or no money. Alexander had smiled. I believe you, ma'am. And I promise you that won't happen. After he left, my mom had turned to me. He's in love with you. What? No, we're just co-parenting, she'd shaken her head. Mija, I know what a man in love looks like. He looks at you like you hung the moon. I dismissed it. But as weeks passed, I started noticing things. The way Alexander's face lit up when I entered a room. The way he'd unconsciously touch the small of my back when we walked together. The way he listened when I talked, like every word mattered. We'd settled into a routine. He'd pick me up after school 3 times a week and we'd grab food, talk about the baby, make plans. He'd convinced me not to defer college. You're brilliant, Emma. You should study architecture like you planned. I'll help with the baby. We'll figure out childcare. I can't ask you to. You're not asking, I'm offering. He'd looked at me seriously. I don't want you to sacrifice your dreams because of one night. Let me help, please. So I'd applied to colleges. NYU accepted me with a partial scholarship. Alexander had quietly handled the rest of the tuition without telling me until I found out from the bursar's office. You can't just pay for my college. I'd yelled at him over the phone. Too late. It's done, Alexander. Emma, I have more money than I can spend in 10 lifetimes. Let me invest in the mother of my child's education. You'll pay me back by becoming an amazing architect and designing beautiful buildings. It was hard to argue with that. At 7 months, he convinced me to move out of Queens. The commute's too long, you're exhausted. I have a guest house on my property, completely separate from the main house, your own entrance, your own space. No rent, just. Closer to doctors, closer to NYU, safer neighborhood. I'd resisted, but my mom had actually agreed with him. Your commute is 2 hours each way, Mija. You're 7 months pregnant. Swallow your pride and let him help. The guest house was bigger than my entire Queens apartment. 2 bedrooms, modern kitchen, a view of Alexander's landscaped yard. He'd had it fully stocked, groceries, toiletries, everything. It's too much, I'd said, overwhelmed. It's not enough, he'd replied quietly. Living so close to him changed things. He'd knock on my door every morning to check on me, bringing coffee for him and herbal tea for me. We'd have dinner together several times a week. Sometimes he'd cook, sometimes I would, sometimes we'd order in. We'd talk for hours about everything. His childhood as the heir to a business empire, lonely and pressured. My dreams of designing schools and libraries, buildings that served communities. His fears about being a good father, my fears about being a good mother. You're going to be amazing, he told me one night, his hand resting on my belly where the baby was kicking. Look at how much you've handled already. I'm terrified. So am I, his thumb traced gentle circles on my skin, but we'll figure it out together. The baby kicked hard and we both laughed. These moments, quiet, intimate, just us, felt dangerous, because it would be so easy to fall. I think I was already falling. I told Maya everything one afternoon at 8 months when I was too pregnant to hide it anymore. She'd stared at my belly, then at me, then screamed. You've been pregnant for 8 months and didn't tell me. I'm sorry, it was complicated. Complicated? Emma, I'm your best friend, I should have been there. Does Alexander know? Wait, who's Alexander? So I told her everything. By the end, she was crying. This is the most insane, romantic, terrifying story I've ever heard, and you're living it. She grabbed my hands. Are you happy? The question caught me off guard. Was I happy? I don't know, I admitted. I'm scared, I'm about to be a mom, but Alexander's been amazing, more than I ever expected. Do you love him? I didn't answer, couldn't answer. Because the truth was too big, too scary. Yes, I loved him. I'd fallen in love watching him read pregnancy books, listening to him talk to my belly, seeing him fight for me and our baby. I loved his laugh, his intelligence, the way he treated everyone from CEOs to waitstaff with respect. I loved how he'd stepped up without hesitation, but he'd never said he loved me. He was committed to the baby, but we'd never discussed us, what we were, what we could be. I can't think about that right now, I told Maya, one crisis at a time. At 8.5 months, my water broke during dinner. We were at Alexander's main house, eating pasta he'd made himself. He'd been taking cooking classes when I felt the gush. Oh no! I looked down at the puddle forming under my chair. Oh no, 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 Alexander went white. Is that my water just broke? I started laughing hysterically. The baby's coming right now. He moved faster than I'd ever seen, grabbing the hospital bag we'd packed, calling his driver, supporting my weight as a contraction hit hard enough to make me gasp. Breathe, Emma, breathe, I've got you. The next 12 hours were a blur of pain and fear and exhaustion. Alexander never left my side. He held my hand, wiped my face, breathed with me through contractions, told me I was strong and beautiful even when I was sweating and screaming. I can't do this, I sobbed during a particularly bad contraction. I can't, you can, he pressed his forehead to mine. You're the strongest person I know, you can do this. I'm right here. At 3:47 a.m. after 12 hours of labor, our daughter was born. They placed her on my chest, tiny, perfect, screaming, and the world stopped. She had dark hair, Alexander's nose, my eyes. She was the most beautiful thing I'd ever seen. Hi, baby girl, I whispered, tears streaming. Hi, we've been waiting for you. Alexander was crying too, his hand gentle on her tiny head. She's perfect. Emma, she's perfect. Want to hold her? He nodded, unable to speak. I watched him take our daughter in his arms, saw his face transform into something so full of love it hurt to look at. Hi, sweetheart, he murmured. I'm your daddy, I'm going to love you forever. And watching him hold our daughter, I knew the truth I'd been avoiding. I was completely, irrevocably in love with Alexander Pierce. We named her Sophia Grace. Sophia for my grandmother, Grace for his mother. She was perfect, 8 pounds, healthy, with Alexander's disposition and my stubbornness. The first week home was chaos. Sophia cried, we cried, nobody slept. Alexander hired a night nurse, but I was too stubborn to use her. Emma, you need to sleep, he said the third night, finding me in the rocking chair at 4 a.m., dead on my feet. She needs me, she needs you healthy. He gently took Sophia from my arms. Go to bed, I've got her. You have work in 3 hours. I'm the CEO, I'll go in late. Go, I woke up 8 hours later, panicked, rushing to the nursery. Alexander was there, Sophia asleep on his chest, both of them peaceful. You let me sleep 8 hours, I said, not sure whether to thank him or cry. You needed it, he smiled sleepily. We did fine. She ate twice, had 3 diaper changes, and we watched the sunrise together. My heart cracked open a little wider. The next 2 months passed in a blur of feedings and diapers and exhaustion. Alexander was there for everything. He'd come home from work and immediately take Sophia so I could shower or nap. He'd do midnight feedings, change diapers, sing off-key lullabies that made Sophia stop crying. You're a natural, I told him one night, watching him soothe Sophia's tears. I have an excellent teacher. He looked at me over Sophia's head. You're amazing at this, Emma. I don't feel amazing. I feel like I'm constantly one step behind. You're doing everything right. His voice was soft, sincere. She's lucky to have you. I'm lucky to have you. The words hung between us, heavy with meaning. That night after Sophia was asleep, Alexander knocked on my door. Can we talk? My heart jumped. Of course. We sat on my couch, careful space between us. He looked nervous, running his hand through his hair repeatedly. I need to tell you something, he finally said. And I need you to let me finish before you respond. Okay, he took a deep breath. That night we met, 6 months before you got pregnant, I knew you were special. I knew you were going to change my life. And I was right, just not how I expected. He turned to face me fully. Emma, these past 9 months have been the best of my life, not just because of Sophia, though she's everything, but because of you, getting to know you. Watching you handle everything with such strength and grace, seeing what an incredible mother you are, my breath caught. I know you're young, I know I'm older, wealthier, that the power dynamic is complicated. I know you're still figuring out your life and your dreams, but I need you to know, he reached for my hand, his eyes intense. I'm in love with you. I've been in love with you since that first night, and every day since has just made it stronger. Tears spilled down my cheeks. I'm not asking you to say it back, he continued quickly. I'm not asking you to make any decisions. I just needed you to know. Because every day I pretend I'm just the co-parent, just the baby daddy, it gets harder. You're not just the mother of my child, Emma. You're the woman I love. I couldn't speak, couldn't breathe. Say something, he whispered. Please. You love me more than I knew it was possible to love someone. Even though I'm 18. Even though I'm a mess. Even though I don't have my life figured out. Because you're you, age doesn't matter, money doesn't matter, you matter. The way you love Sophia matters. The way you make me laugh matters. The way you see the world with hope and creativity and kindness, that matters. He cupped my face, his thumb wiping away tears. You matter to me more than anything. I love you too, I blurted out. I've been so scared to say it because this is all so crazy and impossible, but I do. I love you. I love how you stepped up without hesitation. I love how you treat my mom with respect. I love how you hold Sophia like she's made of glass. I love your terrible singing and how you read pregnancy books and how you never made me feel young or stupid or like a mistake. His smile was brilliant. You're not a mistake. You're the best thing that ever happened to me. Then he kissed me. It was different from that first night, less desperate, more certain, a promise instead of a question. When we pulled apart, we were both crying and laughing. Is this crazy? I asked. Falling in love like this? Probably. He rested his forehead against mine. But I don't care, do you? No, I kissed him again. I don't care at all. That's when Sophia started crying from the other room, her timing impeccable. We looked at each other and burst out laughing. Welcome to our romantic life, I said. I wouldn't change a thing, he replied, kissing me once more before we both got up to check on our daughter. The next few months were a dream. Alexander and I navigated our new relationship carefully, aware of how much was at stake. We didn't rush. We took time. He'd come over after work and we'd cook dinner together, Sophia and her bouncer watching us. We'd watch movies after she fell asleep, curled up on the couch talking about everything. He'd take us on dates, family dates, the three of us, to museums and parks. I want to do this right, he told me, court you properly. Not rush. We already have a baby together. I think we skipped some steps. Then let me make up for it now. He did, flowers every week, love notes hidden in my textbooks when I started classes at NYU. Surprise visits between meetings just to kiss me and tell me he was thinking about me. My mom loved him. Maya loved him. Even Sophia seemed to light up when he entered a room, but there were challenges too. The press found out about us. Billionaire CEO as secret baby mama, and suddenly we were in tabloids on gossip sites. Pictures of me leaving his estate, holding Sophia, with cruel commentary about my age, my background. I'm so sorry, Alexander said, furious, his lawyers already working on cease and desists. I never wanted this for you. It's not your fault. But it hurt. Reading strangers call me a gold digger, suggest I'd trapped him, speculate about our relationship. I was 19 years old, a college student, a mother, and the world was picking apart every choice I'd made. Ignore them, Maya advised. They don't know you, they don't know your story. It's hard. I know, but you have Alexander. You have Sophia, you have people who love you, that's what matters. She was right, and Alexander did everything to protect us. He released a statement, brief, firm, confirming our relationship, asking for privacy, making it clear that anyone who attacked me would answer to him. The attention died down eventually. We went back to our quiet life, classes, work, Sophia, us. For my 19th birthday, Alexander surprised me with a trip. His parents took Sophia for the weekend, they'd fallen in love with their granddaughter immediately, and he flew me to Paris. I've never been out of the country, I said, staring at the Eiffel Tower from our hotel room. I know I wanted to give you this. He wrapped his arms around me from behind. Travel, adventure, all the things you should experience. We spent 3 days wandering Paris. The Louvre, Notre Dame, tiny cafes where we ate pastries and drank coffee. He took me to architecture firms, introducing me to designers, helping me dream. You're going to build beautiful things someday, he said as we stood in front of a building I'd admired. Buildings that make people feel something. You really believe that? I know it. The last night he took me to dinner at a restaurant overlooking the Seine. Candles, wine for him, and sparkling cider for me, the city lights reflecting on the water. I have something for you, he said as dessert arrived. He pulled out a small box. My heart stopped. Before you panic, he said quickly, this isn't a proposal, we've talked about this. You're 19, you're in school, you're figuring out your life. I'm not going to rush you or pressure you. He opened the box. Inside was a delicate necklace, a small diamond pendant shaped like a house. For the architect, he said softly, to remind you of your dreams. I started crying immediately. It's perfect. He helped me put it on, his fingers gentle on my neck. Someday, when you're ready, I'll ask you properly, with a ring and a speech and everything you deserve. But for now, I just want you to know that I'm here. For as long as you'll have me. What if that's forever? He smiled, the expression so full of love it took my breath away. Then I'm the luckiest man alive. We danced that night on our hotel balcony, the city spread below us, and I knew this was my future. This man, our daughter, the life we were building. It wasn't the life I'd planned at 18. But it was better. College was hard, balancing classes, assignments, and being a mom required Olympic-level time management. But I loved it. Loved learning about design principles and structural engineering and urban planning. Alexander supported every step. He'd watch Sophia during my evening classes. He'd quiz me for exams. He'd celebrate every A like it was a Nobel Prize. "I'm so proud of you," he said when I completed my first year with a 3.9 GPA. "You're incredible. I couldn't do it without you." "You could, you're strong enough. But I'm glad you don't have to." Sophia's first birthday was a massive celebration. Alexander went overboard, rented a venue, hired entertainers, invited everyone. Sophia was overwhelmed by the attention, hiding in my shoulder most of the party. "I think we traumatized her," I said, laughing. "First birthday is for the parents anyway," Alexander replied, holding her close. "Happy 1 year of being parents. Best year of my life. Mine too." That night, after everyone left and Sophia was asleep, we sat in the garden behind his house, my head on his shoulder. "Do you ever regret it?" I asked quietly. "How everything happened? Never, do you?" "No, it's not what I planned, but I can't imagine life without Sophia, without you." He kissed the top of my head. "You have me, Emma. For as long as you want me." "Forever, then. Forever works." When I was 20, Alexander proposed, properly this time. He'd planned a family trip, just us and Sophia, to a cabin in Vermont. Mountains, lakes, peace. We spent the weekend hiking, reading, playing with Sophia, existing in our little bubble. The last evening, he suggested a walk. His parents were visiting, staying with Sophia, so it was just us walking through the woods at sunset. "I love this," I said, holding his hand. "No schedule, no pressure, just us." "Me too." He stopped walking suddenly. "Emma." I turned and he was kneeling. In his hand was a ring, a simple, elegant diamond that caught the last rays of sunlight. "Emma Rodriguez, you changed my life the night I met you. You've made me a better man, a better father, a better person. You've shown me what love really is, not just passion but partnership, trust. Choosing each other every day." Tears were already falling. "I know we did things backwards," he continued, his voice thick with emotion. "Baby first, love second, but I wouldn't change our story because it's ours. Because it gave us Sophia, because it gave us this." He took a shaky breath. "I want to spend the rest of my life making you happy, building a future together, growing old together. I want to marry you, Emma. Will you marry me?" "Yes," I was sobbing now. "Yes, yes, yes." He stood, sliding the ring on my finger, and kissed me like the world was ending and beginning all at once. "I love you," he whispered against my lips. "I love you too." "So much?" Sophia was thrilled at the news, or at least she clapped and laughed when we told her, which we counted as approval. My mom cried happy tears. "My baby's getting married." "I'm already a mom, Mom. You're still my baby." Maya screamed and demanded to be maid of honor immediately. "I called it from the beginning. I said this would happen. You told me I was crazy." "I said it was crazy, not that it wouldn't work out, totally different." We planned a small wedding, just family and close friends, at Alexander's estate in the garden where everything had changed. I wore a simple white dress. Sophia was the flower girl, toddling down the aisle throwing petals everywhere. When I reached Alexander, he was crying. "You're so beautiful," he whispered. "You clean up pretty well yourself." We said our vows, traditional ones, because we'd already said everything that mattered to each other in the 2 years since Sophia's birth. What remained was the promise, to love, to honor, to choose each other. "Always I do," I said, my voice clear. "I do," he repeated. When the officiant said, "You may kiss your bride," Alexander pulled me close. "Mrs. Pierce," he murmured. "Mr. Pierce." Our kiss was met with applause and Sophia's delighted shriek of "Mama, Daddy." At the reception we danced our first dance as husband and wife. Alexander held me close, swaying gently. "Happy?" he asked. "Incredibly. Good, because you're stuck with me now. Best trap ever," he laughed, spinning me gently. "I have something to tell you. If you got me a ridiculously expensive wedding gift after I told you not to, not a gift." "News?" He looked nervous suddenly. "I've been thinking about work, about life. I've spent 10 years building the company, proving myself, but I've missed so much. I don't want to miss Sophia growing up. I don't want to miss our life together." "What are you saying?" "I'm stepping back, promoting my VP to CEO. I'll stay on the board, consult, but day to day, I want to be here with you, with Sophia. Maybe with more kids if you want them." "More kids?" "Only if you want, no pressure, but I'd love to expand our family in a few years when you're ready." I thought about it, about our life, our beautiful, unexpected, perfect life. "Yeah," I said softly, "I'd like that too." His smile could have lit up the entire sky. 5 years later, we had 2 more kids, twin boys, James and Lucas. Our house was chaos, beautiful, loud, exhausting chaos. Sophia was 6, starting first grade, already showing signs of her father's intelligence and my creativity. The twins were toddlers into everything, destroying everything, the light of our lives. I'd graduated from NYU with honors, worked at a prestigious architecture firm, and was starting to take on my own projects. Alexander had kept his word, stepping back from Pierce Industries, focusing on family, investing in projects he was passionate about. We were happy, genuinely, completely happy. One evening, after finally getting all three kids to bed, we collapsed on the couch together. "I'm exhausted," I said, my head on his shoulder. "Me too, and happy. Me too." I looked up at him. "Do you remember that night at the hotel? Every detail. Did you ever imagine this, us?" He considered. "I imagined wanting to see you again. I imagined you being special. But this, a family, a life, this much love, I couldn't have imagined it. It's better than anything I could have dreamed. Even though I complicated your perfectly organized billionaire life, especially because of that." He kissed me softly. "You didn't complicate my life, Emma. You gave me one, a real one. You saved me. We saved each other." "Yeah, we did." From upstairs, we heard a crash, followed by Luca's crying. We looked at each other and laughed. "I'll go," Alexander said, standing. "I'll come with you." Hand in hand, we climbed the stairs to comfort our son, together, always together, because that's what we'd become, not a billionaire and the teenage waitress he got pregnant. Not a scandal or a mistake or a tabloid story, just us, Emma and Alexander Pierce, partners, best friends, husband and wife, mom and dad, a family. And it had started with one night, one chance meeting, one choice to not walk away from something scary and unexpected. I'd been 18, pregnant and terrified. Now I was 25, married to the love of my life, a mother of three, an architect building her career. Life hadn't gone according to plan, it had gone better. And as I stood in my son's room, watching Alexander soothe Luca's while James climbed into my arms, Sophia appearing in the doorway asking for water, our house full of noise and love and chaos, I knew one thing for certain. I would do it all again, every scary moment, every hard decision, every unexpected turn, because all of it, every single piece had led me here, home.